Team Chef Eric Gephart here, hope you're doing well. Today I want to focus on technique, methods, watching the chef's hands, even if you can't understand their accent. I think it's extremely important to point out the methodology. You watch a chef's hands, you can truly understand why they do what they do. Let's take flank steak for instance, right? It's thin, it's flat, that tells us we want high heat to cook it generally, and there's a lot of surface area here. Today I'm going to be using a Premier Master Utility 6.5 inch blade, and I'm going to scruff the top of the steak, just really gently drawing these lines across the grains, all right, creating little avenues, nooks and crannies for more flavor. So in essence, creating more surface area for caramelization. Look at that, just beautiful, okay? Now I'm gonna flip it over and do the other side, and then we're gonna talk about a quick technique you can do at home with seasoning to elevate your grilled steak game. Notice when I was doing that, I used my pinch right here, 3 fingers on the handle, and I'm just using the tip or the edge of the knife. That's why I love how this comes to a point, and I'm able just to really trace the surface, not cutting too deep. Seasoning, white, red, brown. White's the salt, that's gonna kickstart osmosis, right? It's gonna pull moisture out and wick the outside, allowing that second and third layer to adhere. So first goes the salt, then goes the heat, so the red, your cayennes, your chili powders, your paprikas, and then third is the sweet. Now, interestingly enough, sugar counts as a brown because it caramelizes, so you'll be able to see any seasoning. The ingredients are listed by volume in order. So white, red, brown. And we're gonna let this steak tack up before we flip it. What's happening is all those semi-permeable membranes are sucking moisture out, and it wants to find equilibrium, so it sucks it back in, kind of dry brining the exterior, but that's gonna allow all that seasoning to adhere to the outside so that we get that great 3-layer system crust that we're looking for. Today we're going to be cooking on a Kamado Joe over natural lump charcoal, and we're sitting at about 550 degrees. That's right where I want it for this thin flank steak. Pro tip, whenever you're putting anything on the grill, you want to do that drag test. Just slightly drag it across. If it sticks, the grill's not hot enough, or use a little bit of oil right on top. Now we're allowing this beautiful steak to caramelize. We want that Maillard reaction where the proteins turn to sugar. I can hear it. That's why a lot of chefs don't play music in the kitchen, because they need all of their senses, including hearing. If that wasn't sizzling, I would know that grill is not hot enough, plus our drag test. So we're creating great caramelization. All of those nooks and crannies that we created with the tip of that blade are beginning to exaggerate a little bit. And then as the collagen breaks down into gelatin, it's gonna render down, drop on the charcoal, caramelize, and we're gonna smoke this steak with its own dripping. So I'm gonna go ahead and close the dome now and let it accept some of that beautiful smoke. Oh yeah, stunner. That's what we wanna see, great caramelization, nice bark. Now we gotta do the toughest thing of this entire method. Let it rest. that is by far the hardest thing of this whole. We're going to talk about resting, we're going to talk about slicing with and across the grain, we talked about seasoning, talked about scruffing. All these things are very simple things that added together really maximize the potential of you cooking the best steak you've ever cooked your entire life. But now we have to rest for 7 to 12 minutes. I swear, the hardest thing. What we can do, however, is take our utility and cut a little bit of this unsalted butter. Now I do like unsalted because we like to have our culinary destiny in our own hands here, and we don't want to over salt anything, and just let those pads of butter rest right on top. They're going to start melting a little bit with the residual heat, and what's happening is that steak is tight right now, and it's just relaxing, redistributing all those juices throughout. So when we slice this on the cutting board, any juice that's there should be in every single bite of steak. All right, so we're letting it rest now, and we're going to talk a little bit about reverse sear here in about 2 seconds. Now this letting it rest period that we talked about is tough, is a great opportunity to take care of some other things, right? You got 7 to 12 minutes to do vegetables or sauces or get a new beverage, whatever it might be. But we want to bring it up real quick back to temperature, we can do what's called reverse sear. Often that's time to go low and slow and then blister sear to finish to an internal temperature. But for us, for what we want to do is just wake this thing up. Now remember, we've already let this steak rest once, so we don't have to do it again, okay? We're good to go. The grain on this steak run north to south, right? So you always hear about cutting across the grain, but I wanna show you a trick. We're gonna slice once with the grain and then come across the grain, making it a little bit more simple for us with this 6.5 inch. So we'll start right at the top and run right down effortlessly. And that is stunning. All right, it's gonna start to bloom out here in just a second as the myoglobin interacts with the oxygen. We're gonna put these together and just slice into bite-sized pieces. Notice how I'm putting a little bit of tension right here on the handle. I'm pushing down a little bit and using the tip of the knife on the board, slicing directly through. I'm not doing a sawing action, I'm just cutting straight through from side to side. And this is the portion of the blade that's really doing the cutting on the steak. And that was effortless. Perfectly cooked flank steak. One more tip, I'm gonna take that white or that salty seasoning and just do a little post seasoning. So mix in with anything left on that board and just toss it in. And I know that's just steak. We didn't do a sauce today. We didn't do a veg. We just focused on steak technique, but that is as good and as juicy as it gets.